Have you ever watched your father, the man who once carried your world on his shoulders, struggle to lift a simple bag of groceries? Or your mother, the woman who never seemed to tire, pause halfway up the stairs, one hand on the railing, quietly catching her breath? It's a moment that hits deeper than words, because they're trying. They still eat their eggs for breakfast. They still grill their chicken for dinner. They're following the rules, getting their protein, doing what they've been told. And yet the strength just keeps fading. Not all at once, but gradually, a little less each week. The arms that once built, the legs that once climbed, now tremble under their own weight. I've seen this story 1,000 times in my patients. They tell me, "Doctor, I'm eating right. Why am I still getting weaker?" And I can see the fear in their eyes, not fear of aging, but of losing themselves. Here's the truth most people never hear. It's not that your body stops needing protein. It's that after 60, it forgets how to use it. Because muscle isn't built from protein alone. Protein is only the brick, but there's something far more important. The mortar that holds it all together. And when that mortar starts to fade, even the strongest house begins to crumble. Today we're going to talk about how to rebuild that house, brick by brick, gently, wisely, from the inside out. When I first met Dr. Shigaki Hinohara, he was already a legend, a man who had cared for patients for over a century, long enough to see generations rise and fade. His hands were thin, but his mind razor sharp. I once asked him, "Doctor, why do people keep getting weaker even when they eat right? Eggs for breakfast, chicken for dinner. They're doing everything we tell them to." He paused for a long moment before speaking. "Ben," he said softly, "building muscle is like building a house. Protein, those eggs, that chicken, are just the bricks. You can have a mountain of the finest bricks in the world, but without the mortar to hold them together, your house will crumble." That single metaphor changed the way I looked at aging, because he was right. After 60, our bodies still receive the bricks, the protein, but we start losing the mortar, the glue that binds those nutrients into real strength. It's not a vitamin or a supplement, it's a system, the quiet machinery of repair and connection, and it begins in the most overlooked place of all, the gut. Dr. Hinohara leaned forward, his eyes bright with compassion. "The foundation of strength," he said, "is not in the gym, nor on your plate. It is in the gut. If the ground is weak, even the strongest walls will fall." That moment stayed with me, because the truth is, most people don't need more protein. They need to fix the foundation that allows their body to use the protein they already have. And that's exactly where our rebuilding begins. When Dr. Hinohara spoke about the gut as the foundation of strength, I immediately thought of a man named Arthur, one of my favorite patients. Arthur was 78, a proud army veteran, a man who had built houses with his own hands, raised 3 kids, and never missed a morning jog, until recently. When he first came to see me, he looked tired in a way that went beyond sleep. His handshake, once firm and confident, had softened. He said, "Doctor, I'm eating like a man, eggs every morning, steak twice a week, bacon when I can, but I keep losing strength. I feel hollow." His lab showed something I've seen again and again: chronic inflammation, poor nutrient absorption, and a gut that was, in his words, bloated and confused. He had been loading bricks onto a cracked foundation. So I asked him to make one small change. Not to add more meat, not to take another supplement, but to replace 2 of his red meat dinners each week with something humble, tempeh. Now, many Americans know tofu, soft, processed, bland. But tempeh is different. It's made from the whole soybean, fermented slowly, almost like nature pre-digesting the food for you. It's packed with protein, yes, but more importantly, it feeds the good bacteria in your gut. It repairs the soil so the roots can grow again. Arthur laughed when I suggested it. Bean curd, Doc? You want me to eat bean curd? But he tried. A month later, he walked into my office, taller, brighter. He grinned and said, "Doc, I don't know what's in that bean curd, but I can open the pickle jar for my wife again." He wasn't eating more protein. His body was finally using it. When Arthur told me he could open that pickle jar again, I smiled, not because it was miraculous, but because it was logical. His body had finally remembered how to use the protein he was already giving it. That's the word so many people over 60 need to understand: bioavailability. It sounds like a scientific term, but it simply means this: how much of what you eat can your body actually absorb and use? You see, Arthur wasn't lacking protein. He was lacking the ability to process it. Years of inflammation had damaged the delicate lining of his gut, the very surface where nutrients are absorbed. So even the best food in the world was just passing through. Tempeh changed that equation completely. Because it's fermented, it's partially broken down, nature's way of making protein easier for an aging digestive system. But there's more. Fermentation feeds the good bacteria that protect the gut wall, calm inflammation, and make digestion smoother. In 2022, researchers at the Journal of Gerontology, Medical Sciences studied older adults who added fermented soy foods like tempeh to their diets. After 8 weeks, they didn't just show stronger gut health. Their levels of inflammatory markers dropped, and their overall muscle efficiency improved. Their bodies became quieter, calmer, and more capable. It's a reminder I share with every patient. Before you feed your muscles, you must heal the ground they stand on. Arthur didn't rebuild his strength by eating more. He rebuilt it by absorbing better. And once that foundation was healed, the next step was protecting it from what breaks it down the most: the silent, hidden fire inside the aging body. Once the foundation of your body is healed, you must protect it, just like a builder protects a new house from fire or flood. And the most dangerous fire inside the aging body isn't visible. It doesn't come with heat or pain at first. It's quiet, slow, and constant. It's called chronic inflammation, a silent flame that burns day and night, weakening muscles, stiffening joints, and draining energy. Most people don't even know it's there until they wake up one morning and realize their knees ache, their legs feel heavy, or their hands don't grip the same way anymore. To fight this hidden fire, you need more than protein bricks. You need what I call a maintenance crew, something that calms, repairs, and protects your muscle house from the inside out. And strangely enough, one of the best maintenance crews I've ever found comes in a small tin can: sardines. Now I know. People wrinkle their noses when I say that. The smell, the texture, it doesn't sound glamorous. But sardines are one of nature's most perfect packages, rich in omega-3 fatty acids, which act like firefighters that cool inflammation, packed with vitamin D and calcium, which your muscles need just as much as your bones. I had a patient named Eleanor, 81 years old, who loved gardening more than anything. But she told me she'd given up her rose garden because her knees just felt old. Her doctor found nothing wrong structurally, no arthritis, no damage. It was that same quiet fire. So we made one small change: 3 cans of sardines a week, on toast with rice or straight from the can. 2 months later, she walked into my office with a single rose in her hand. "Doctor," she said, smiling, "they don't feel tired anymore." We hadn't changed her joints. We had simply put out the fire. When Eleanor walked into my office holding that rose, I remember thinking, healing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, like the fire that once burned inside her knees finally going out. You see, what she was feeling wasn't just age, it was something deeper, something science now calls low-grade systemic inflammation. A slow, invisible flame that smoulders in the background of so many aging bodies. We can even measure it through a simple blood test called C-reactive protein, or CRP. When your CRP is high, it's your body whispering something inside is irritated. And when that quiet irritation lingers year after year, it does something terrible. It eats away at your strength, weakens your legs, and makes every movement feel heavier. Think of it like rust on steel. The bridge still stands, until one day it doesn't. Now here's the good news. Nature gave us a way to cool that fire. Omega-3 fatty acids, especially the ones found in sardines, EPA and DHA. They are the body's natural firefighters. They don't just reduce CRP levels, they help your muscles rebuild and your blood vessels open wide, delivering oxygen where it's needed most. And sardines are more than just omega-3s. They carry vitamin D, which helps your muscles contract properly, and calcium, which keeps those contractions strong. That's why I often tell my patients, if you suffer from leg cramps, don't just stretch. Feed your muscles what they're asking for, 2 or 3 cans a week. That's all it takes to quiet the fire, ease the stiffness, and remind your body how good it feels to move without pain. Because once that fire dies down, the rebuilding can truly begin. By this point, we've rebuilt the foundation with temper, and we've cooled the fires of inflammation with sardines. But if you've ever watched an old house being restored, you know there's still one more step, the part that holds everything together. That's where most people struggle after 60. They still eat their protein, their eggs, their chicken, their shakes, yet their bodies feel fragile, almost brittle. It's not just the muscle fading, it's the very framework that supports it. The joints, the tendons, the cartilage, the connective tissue that once made movement effortless. And this, my friends, is where the secret lies. Because protein alone, those bricks, can't hold the house together. You need the mortar, the binding force nature gave us long before protein powders existed. It's something your grandmother probably made without even knowing its power. A humble, slow-simmered miracle called bone broth. If eggs are the bricks, bone broth is the glue, the wooden beams, the soul of the structure itself. It delivers the building blocks your body stops producing after 60. Collagen, gelatin, and amino acids like glycine and proline. These are the craftsmen of your inner house. They rebuild the frame, patch the cracks, and bring back the flexibility your body once had. Without them, every movement, every step, every bend feels like a wall about to crumble. But with them, everything begins to hold again. Because true strength isn't just muscle, it's the quiet integrity of the structure beneath it. And once you restore that, your body no longer feels fragile. It feels whole. I'll never forget George. He was 82, kind eyes, steady voice, the kind of man who'd rather fix a broken chair himself than ask for help. He came to see me after recovering from pneumonia. His words still echo in my mind. "Doctor, I just feel brittle, like a dry leaf that might crumble if I move too quickly." George's diet was fine, plenty of soft proteins, eggs and fish. But his body had lost its structure. He wasn't missing bricks. He was missing the framework that holds those bricks in place. So I gave him a simple ritual. Every morning before breakfast, 1 warm cup of bone broth, about 8 ounces. Nothing fancy, just slowly simmered bones, a little vinegar and thyme. 3 weeks later, my phone rang. It was George. "Doctor," he said, his voice lighter than before, "it's the strangest thing. I don't feel brittle anymore. I feel put together." What happened inside George's body was remarkable, and yet beautifully simple. Bone broth delivers collagen, made of unique amino acids you don't get much from eggs or meat, glycine and proline. They rebuild cartilage, strengthen tendons, and even repair the lining of the gut. But here's what excites me most as a physician. Glycine also helps your body produce nitric oxide, the molecule that tells your blood vessels to open up and carry oxygen and nutrients to your muscles. So when George drank that cup each morning, he wasn't just rebuilding his frame, he was upgrading his body's delivery system. That's why sometimes healing feels almost magical, but it's not magic. It's simply giving your body the raw materials it's been asking for all along. When George told me he felt put together, I knew something deeper was happening inside him. His strength wasn't just returning, his circulation was waking up. That's the beautiful thing about collagen-rich bone broth. It doesn't only rebuild your framework, your tendons, joints, cartilage. It also revitalizes the highways that carry life itself, your blood vessels. Here's how. One of collagen's key amino acids, glycine, helps your body produce a molecule called nitric oxide. Now, nitric oxide is like a traffic light for your circulation. It tells your blood vessels to relax and open up. When they do, more oxygen, more nutrients, and more healing flow to every cell, especially to the muscles in your legs. That's why so many people notice fewer leg cramps and less stiffness after just a few weeks of drinking bone broth. It's not a miracle. It's better blood flow. And that improved circulation does something else extraordinary. It helps your body actually use the protein and minerals you're already consuming. Remember, it's not about eating more. It's about absorbing better, circulating better, and rebuilding smarter. For most of my patients, I recommend 1 warm cup of bone broth a day. If you prefer convenience, high-quality grass-fed collagen powder can be a good alternative. But if you can make it fresh, the real broth is best. Slow simmering pulls out not just collagen, but gelatin, magnesium, phosphorus, and trace minerals that modern diets often lack. And as the days pass, you begin to notice something subtle. Your legs don't ache when you stand. Your steps feel lighter. Your grip steadier. It's as if your body remembers how to be strong again. Because that's exactly what it's doing, remembering what health feels like. When I look back at the journey we've taken together, I realize we weren't just talking about food. We were rebuilding something far more meaningful, the quiet, forgotten relationship between you and your own body. We began by healing the foundation, the gut, with humble living foods like tempeh, allowing your body to finally absorb the nourishment it's been begging for. Then we calmed the silent fire of inflammation with tiny, powerful sardines, firefighters sent by nature to cool the quiet pain that steals mobility and peace. And finally, we rebuilt the framework with collagen-rich bone broth, restoring the hidden architecture that lets your body stand strong, bend gracefully, and move without fear. This is not a magic formula. It's a remembrance, of how the human body once worked in harmony with nature, not in battle against it. For decades, we've been told to fight aging, to resist it, to beat it. But the truth is, healing was never meant to be a war. It's not about attacking your body into obedience. It's about coming home to it, gently, with respect. Your body isn't your enemy, it's your oldest companion. It has carried you through every joy and sorrow, every victory and loss. It speaks to you through aches, through fatigue, through the stiffness in your knees or the heaviness in your legs. Those are not signs of failure. They're messages. They're your body's way of saying, please, remember me, rebuild me slowly, feed me what I've forgotten. So when you take a quiet moment to simmer a pot of bone broth, or choose tempeh over another heavy meal, or open a can of sardines with gratitude instead of judgment, that is healing. That is kindness made visible. And kindness, I've learned, is a medicine no laboratory can replicate. True strength isn't measured by how much you can lift, but by how deeply you can listen. It's the strength to care, to rest, to nourish, to allow your body and your spirit to find their way back home. Because healing isn't about resisting time. It's about remembering that even now, life still lives within you.